The small and medium-scale industry sector also fear that they will be underprepared for GST's rollout. The MSME sector, as they are called, also fear that they don't have the requisite infrastructure for the rollout of the proposed tax structure.
Well, the goods and services tax is all set to be rolled out by the 1st of July, but the medium and small enterprises sector has a couple of apprehensions. In fact, I'm joined in by a couple of people. Let's figure out what their apprehensions are. First of all, let me come to you first. Tell us this now. Is the industry comfortable with the idea of GST?
Industry is comfortable in long term, but in a short term, we expect a lot of pain. Because people have a problem of understanding all about the returns and the invoices and the deliveries. People are not knowing the exact law, how it's going to take up. And certain industries where the rates have increased much more than they were earlier, like plastics and leather industries. Especially the consumers is going to suffer there because the rates will go up higher by 10%.
You work for the rubber industry. Your effective tax rate is going to go up with the GST coming.
Basically, most of the rubber industries are MSMEs and they contribute to a very positive part of the GDP. However, most of them are already not under excise. So if you're actually paying about say 13.5% right now for VAT, after GST you're going to land up paying around about 28%. So your effective factor of your money which you're going to be going out every month is higher, but you're still going to get paid at the same 60 days.
Also tell us, the threshold has now gone down. Do you think we have that kind of infrastructure for people to actually understand this entire?
No. That's the biggest issue the MSME has. Threshold of 1.5 crores has come down to 20 lakhs. So 95% of the business people will be under this GST scheme, and they definitely do not have the infrastructure, nor the knowledge, nor the manpower to do all this job.
After the rollout, there's been an initial 2-month exemption that's been given to the industry. Is the industry comfortable with that?
Maybe we would have some extension in future also, because I don't see even the government agencies being well versed with each and every aspect of the taxation. Since day before yesterday only we have come up with a revised tax list and other things. So what we are expecting in near future is at least minimum 4 to 6 months of leniency towards getting all the returns and stuff.
Right, I'm being joined by tax expert Abhishek Rastogi on the phone line. Thanks very much, Abhishek, for joining in. We've been seeing that whether it's the leather industry, the textile industry, several of these industries are facing a lot of issues with regards to the implementation of GST, and the transition to the GST structure is what they're saying. I want to get your perspective on this.
See, I think as far as the transitional provisions are concerned, the government has tried to give the maximum benefit to sectors all across. So as far as the transitional credits are concerned, there should not be any loss of the credits. Now, of course, there will be teething problems as far as the compliances are concerned, tax payments are concerned, returns and so on and so forth. But if we see the policy of the government right now is to implement this tax in the best possible way so that the trade does not feel the hardship of this transition. And when I say that, I would want to highlight few of these measures which have been taken by the government. The first one, of course, includes with respect to the recent announcements for e-commerce operators, wherein the government is saying that both the TCS, TDS collection and even the registration which was mandatorily required for a lot of these suppliers through the e-commerce platforms need not obtain those registrations and comply as far as the TCS and TDS are concerned. So whenever these questions are coming up before the appropriate authority, I think the view which the government has been taking in the recent past is pro the trade. And of course, a lot of these teething problems would also revolve around the tax payments, the returns, filing of the inward supplies, the outward supplies, and GSTR return. Now, what the government has also told is that for the first few months, as far as the compliances are concerned, that soft corner will be given to the trade, and the trade can furnish those returns in the normal way and not go into the details of the inward supplies and outward supplies and so on and so forth. So I think the initiative of the government has been there quite substantial. The trade has to support the government in this initiative. This GST reform is a very big reform and the country will gain through it. I think the trader community has to understand that and has to give, government support in such a phase.
Abhishek, if you can just elaborate a little bit on the leeway that you were talking about that the government has given the community to sort of get through the teething troubles, as you've called them.
See, I will explain you in a detail. So basically, if you see the GST provisions, the provisions technically require you to file the return on the inward supplies, on the outward supplies, and then the matching happens. And then the final GST return, GST R1, also needs to be submitted. Now, what the government is saying is that for the first 2 months, which is July and August, the returns need not go into such details of inward supplies, outward supplies, matching concept, and so on and so forth. What the government wants is that the tax should be paid under the new tax regime without going into the details of the inward supplies and the outward supplies. So, which is a very big thing for the trade, which is very big point for the industry, because these 2 months have been given by the government as a leeway now. Now, if we see the announcements by the government also, government was very clear that GST will come on 1st of July. So, while most of the big players have prepared themselves, the issue was what happens to the small traders. Now, to give benefit even to the small traders, the composition scheme which has been provided for under the GST regime, the limit for that composition scheme has increased from 50 lakhs to 75 lakhs. So, and large number of such traders will fall within that gamut of the differential 25 lakhs. So, a larger number of traders would now get the benefit of the composition scheme also. And hence, this increase of limit is also a welcome step. So, as far as the compliances are concerned, government has given that provision that, initial 2 months, the compliances can be done in a normal way without going into the details and the matching concept. As far as the composition scheme is concerned, government has again increased that limit from 50 lakhs to 75 lakhs. So, which means that if there is a trader whose annual turnover is expected to be 60 lakhs, he just has to pay a very small amount of 1% or 2% as the case may be, depending on whether he is a trader or a manufacturer. Of course, he would not be eligible to get the benefits of the input taxes, but as far as the compliance burden is concerned, there is hardly any compliance burden on him. Similarly, a lot of e-commerce operators and a lot of suppliers who would supply the goods or services through e-commerce operators were worried about the payment of TCS, etc., tax collection at source. That benefit has also been given to the sector, and TCS is not made mandatory for initial period.
Right. All right. Thanks very much, Abhishek, for getting us that perspective. Remember, GST, the Goods and Services Tax, is going to come into effect on 30th June, 1st July, midnight of 30th June, 1st July, that is.